Chapter 1860 Empty City Strategy. Zhang Yi said it very clearly. He just wanted to see who could give more benefits and then choose who to help. In the end, Morana did not get the answer he wanted. Zhang Yi was in a hurry, continuing to wait for time to pass. 3 days have passed, and they should be getting anxious. A very heated debate broke out again between the Morana team and the King Arthur team. Even on King Arthur's side, some people had a brief discussion. Some people are already impatient. It has been 4 days, and they have not sent out any troops during these 4 days, which makes them extremely anxious. But whenever someone suggests taking action, they will be stopped by rational people. They kept trying to communicate with Zhang Yi, and the chips they paid were getting more and more. Even later, the conditions given by Morana were enough to empty the entire treasury of Fremons. King Arthur also claimed that he had treasures from the underwater kingdom of Atlantis for Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi already felt that they were almost at their limit. During the communication, Zhang Yi could tell from their tone that they were trying their best to suppress their anger. It's almost time. If we delay any further, the people protecting them will go crazy. Yang Xinxin said to Zhang Yi, "It is not so easy to strike a balance, because the human heart is unpredictable, and it is very common for emotions to overcome reason." Yang Xinxin looked at Zhang Yi and smiled. "Brother, it's time to close the net." Zhang Yi exhaled and said with a smile, "Okay, to be honest, I am getting a little impatient myself." He first called Morana. "Hey, Morana. I agree to cooperate with you. In 2 hours, I will go over to get the portion of the sacrificial spirit that you promised to give me. As for the rest, you must give it all to me after we get out." Morana's eyes on the other end were shining with surprise. Finally got it done. She clenched her fists, nodded solemnly, and agreed. "Okay. I hope you can keep your promise after passing through chaos." Zhang Yi looked at Morana on the other end of the video call and nodded slowly and firmly. "Who do you think I am? I promised you that if I take your things, I will help you defeat King Arthur's team, and I will definitely do it. If you break this promise, you will be punished by heaven and earth. Don't worry, I am Han Dun from Hua Su country. I won't lie to you." Morana heaved a sigh of relief at this point. As a strong man's promise and oath, he deserves trust. "Okay then, in 2 hours, we'll trade between our 2 cities." "Good." Zhang Yi ended the communication with Morana and then immediately called King Arthur. "Hey, Arthur. I agree to cooperate with you." King Arthur was delighted, but he was also a little wary. "It's a good thing that you chose us. But I want to ask, why did you choose us?" Zhang Yi raised the corner of his mouth, and murderous intent flashed in his eyes. "It doesn't matter to me which of you advances. Although the conditions you offered are very different, they are absolutely right to attack our city and kill my teammates on the first day." King Arthur found this explanation very reasonable. Anyway, they have no hope of advancing, so it doesn't matter who they help win. Since the benefits offered by both parties are the same, of course, priority will be given to the one who has not offended me. "Okay, in that case, let's set a time and attack their lair directly," King Arthur said. Zhang Yi said calmly, "Don't worry first. According to what we agreed before, pay the deposit to me in 4 hours. I want to see your sincerity." King Arthur smiled and said, "There is an old saying in Huashu country, when you see a rabbit, you should release the hawk. It really fits your style, Chaos." "Then, see you in 4 hours," Zhang Yi said. "Good." In this way, Zhang Yi agreed on the transaction time with both parties at the same time. And the time arrangement is not random. After 4 hours, the daytime is over. He is trying his best to delay time. When Morana and King Arthur ended the communication, they both reported the good news to their teammates with smiles on their faces. Got it. They all felt that this battle was already won, because no matter how powerful the opponent was, 2 against 1 was a sure win. Alexei hesitated for a moment, then said to Morana, "I think it's best not to be happy too early." Morana and others looked at Alexei. Alexei's words at this time were obviously a bit disappointing. Everyone had been waiting for 4 days without a chance to take action, and they were almost going crazy. However, they also knew that Alexei and Zhang Yi had a good relationship, and he was the one who knew Zhang Yi best among the group. "Perrin, what do you want to say?" Saladin inquired. Alexei sighed, hugged his arms that were as thick as human thighs, and said, "Chaos is a very smart guy. He is very friendly to his friends, but very cunning to his opponents. I want to remind you to be careful of him." As a friend, Alexei does understand Zhang Yi. But now they belong to different teams, so this can be considered a backstab. Saladin shrugged. This problem is easy to solve. Since they have chosen to give up victory to help us win, then when the time comes, we just need to let them stand on the front line and fight against King Arthur's team first, right? Since death here is not a problem, let them fight to the death. If they don't agree, it means they have something to hide. Morana thought about it and felt that it made a lot of sense. The promises of the powerful are certainly trustworthy, but it is better to add double insurance. King Arthur expressed the same idea. They are all top-notch strong men in the world. Even if they're smart, they are definitely stupid. After the reduction in members, Zhang Yi's team is the weakest. Although the possibility of them participating in the final victory is high, it is definitely not possible. The sky was filled with yellow sand, and the flying yellow sand covered the city, where Zhang Yi was. The interior is clean and tidy. Zhang Yi sits on the sofa, enjoying a leisurely life every day. The other two parties were restraining each other, so he didn't have to worry about his safety being threatened. The more I think about Yang Xinxin's tactic of retreating to advance, the more I think she is powerful. As soon as the agreed time came, Zhang Yi stood up and said to Yang Xinxin and the others, "You guys stay here. I'll go trade alone." Yang Xinxin drank coffee leisurely. There won't be any problem. Since they have already got your promise, they can take the risk of doing something meaningless. There is really a huge gap in strength between King Arthur's team and Morana's team. Therefore, even if they wanted to break the agreement and sneak attack Zhang Yi's city, their combat power would definitely be damaged, and in the end it would benefit others. Zhang Yi nodded, then flew away in the direction of the city where Morana was. Clock second hand is turned on, always on guard against sneak attacks. Although there is a high probability of danger, he is used to being careful in everything. After a long time, he came to a desert area between the two cities. The person who came was Morana, but Zhang Yi knew that there were people secretly spying on him to prevent Zhang Yi from doing anything weird. Zhang Yi didn't care at all. He hid two people in secret, and neither of them escaped the detection of his mind. The fluctuation of space was too obvious to him. "Where's the stuff?" Zhang Yi kept a certain distance from Morana to prevent her from launching Absolute Zero to attack him. If he were hit by that move, Zhang Yi would have no way to protect himself. But then again, Zhang Yi, who can predict the future, will also give her the opportunity to use that trick. Morana held up a metal box in his hand. "Here is the deposit that gave you. Since you agreed to cooperate with us, there is one thing we must make clear. When the battle begins, you will serve as the vanguard. Fight them to the death with your own lives until you die in battle." Zhang Yi's eyes darkened when he heard that, but soon he smiled and shrugged. "Okay, of course. That's what I was planning to do. But it's good enough to just do it this way." He held up a finger and shook it. "When the decisive battle comes, all of us will go out, leaving no one behind to defend the city. If you think we have done something wrong, you can immediately send people to destroy our statues. Do you think that doing so will make you feel at ease?" Morana was somewhat surprised. The destruction of the city would mean the complete defeat of the entire team. This was the rules set by the manager. Zhang Yi's team only has 4 people. This is very straightforward, and they can't cheat. Morana's eyes softened a little, and he was very satisfied with Zhang Yi's attitude. "Very good." She raised her hand and pushed the metal box towards Zhang Yi. A metal box the size of a suitcase flew towards Zhang Yi, and was then controlled by Zhang Yi in midair and slowly landed in front of him. Zhang Yi was very cautious and did not get close. Instead, he stretched out a few silver-gray vines from the divine vine and carefully opened the metal box. The moment the box was opened, a familiar feeling came over him, and even Shun Lian couldn't help but send out a signal of joy. Ritual ceremony for the spirit. Zhang Yi was certain of this and was excited inside, but on the surface he remained calm and smiled. Very good. He put the things into the different space. Morana said, "Let's go now, let's go now. Crush them with our absolute military superiority." Zhang Yi smiled faintly and shook his head. "Don't worry first." Morana frowned. "What else are you going to do?" The smile on Zhang Yi's face became even more intense. "I've said before, what I want is to maximize my profits. So, I need you to do me a favor. Don't worry, I will ask you for help for free, and I will definitely satisfy you." Morana stared at Zhang Yi, waiting for his next words. Zhang Yi said, "King Arthur and his men also promised to give me some benefits as long as I am willing to help them. So I will pretend to agree with them and then take the things they give me. Then we can work together inside and outside to catch them off guard. What do you think?" Morana's eyes widened, and a dangerous aura filled her eyes. "You want to have it both ways?" Zhang Yi waved his hand and said, "Don't get excited. If you are really worried, you can send someone to guard our city. If you find that we have done anything that is disadvantageous to you, destroy our statue immediately. Then we will be forced out by the administrators. Can this show my sincerity?" Morana's expression softened a bit. "But your actions are very suspicious." Zhang Yi smiled and said, "I know you think my approach is problematic, so I am willing to make enough concessions. Can't I gain your trust by doing this?" Everyone else in the team could hear Morana's conversation at this time. Some people think that Zhang Yi's behavior is weird. However, Zhang Yi took the initiative to hand over all his cities, showing enough sincerity. Zhang Yi continued, "I think I have shown enough sincerity. I will leave the city to you. When the time comes for the decisive battle, we will be the vanguard and fight them first. What else do you have to worry about?" Morana and others discussed it and finally felt that this matter was very appropriate. There was no way out. Zhang Yi took almost all the risks. Even in the worst-case scenario, they could directly destroy Zhang Yi's city and make them disappear from the battlefield. Morana nodded and said to Zhang Yi, "Okay, but the timing and direction of the attack need to be decided by us." Zhang Yi shrugged. "Of course, I have no objection." Most of Morana and the others' suspicions were dispelled, so they left. Zhang Yi still had a smile on his face and quickly returned to his city. 2 hours later, he went to meet King Arthur again. He also received a sacrificial spirit, in addition to which he also received a valuable red energy crystal that Yichigel had taken from his body. Zhang Yi was very satisfied with today's harvest. 2 sacrificial spirits can add 2 more Epsilon-level mutants to his command. Or he absorbed it himself to increase his strength. Chaos. Now that we have made an agreement, let's go to war with them. King Arthur was also anxious to win this battle quickly. Zhang Yi smiled. "Don't be anxious. There is one more thing I want to tell you." He used the same words to repeat to King Arthur. King Arthur also became suspicious. "Chaos. You're not lying to me, are you?" Zhang Yi sneered. "Who do you take me for? If I accept your things, I will help you defeat the Morana team as agreed. The conditions they offer are not as high as yours, so of course I have to help you. But I also want what they have." "You are so greedy." King Arthur looked at Zhang Yi, especially his face, trying to see the guilty expression on his face. But Zhang Yi is now a veteran and has first-rate acting skills, and he didn't show any abnormal expression at all. "You don't need to doubt me. If I really wanted to cooperate with them, I could just go to war with you directly. Tomorrow I will pretend to cooperate with them and lure them outside your city. After they make their move, we will join forces to wipe them out in one fell swoop. What do you think?" King Arthur thought for a while after hearing this and asked in the same tone of disbelief, "What's the point of doing this? Isn't this a waste of time?" His eyes suddenly became sharp. "Unless you have any special plans?" King Arthur stared at Zhang Yi. "Chaos, have you not given up this battle yet?" Zhang Yi thought to himself. These guys are really not that easy to fool. He smiled contemptuously. "You don't believe me? Then I will use a method to prove that I have completely given up on winning this war. He raised a finger. When the time comes, all members of our team will be dispatched. By then, my city will become an empty city. If you think there is any problem with me, you can directly send people to destroy my city. Are you satisfied with this? King Arthur frowned tightly, trying hard to find something special on Zhang Yi's face. But there was only a faint smile on Zhang Yi's face, which made him feel suspicious. He always felt that there was something wrong with Zhang Yi's approach. But the other party was willing to abandon even the city, which was obviously not like Zhang Yi's usual cautious style. What is going on? King Arthur was confused. Zhang Yi took the things and waved at him. Wait for my good news. Chaos. Zhang Yi had just turned around when he was suddenly stopped by King Arthur. Zhang Yi slowly turned around and looked at him. What's wrong? Don't you believe me? He raised the box in his hand. I can return the things to you right now, and then join forces with Morana and the others. How do you think? King Arthur took a deep breath. His mind was a little confused. He vaguely felt that Zhang Yi was plotting against them, but he couldn't explain exactly what the plan was. However, at the moment, it was impossible for him to take the box back. After all, the conditions proposed by Zhang Yi are very tempting no matter how you look at them. But if the other party is already teamed up with Morana's team, why bother? Or is he planning to let his team compete with Morana's team, and then he will reap the benefits? This doesn't make sense either, because they promised to be on the front line when the battle comes. If the situation really goes wrong at that time, they will be the most dangerous. King Arthur had no choice but to say to Zhang Yi, Chaos, you have already accepted the things. I hope you can uphold the credit of the strong and abide by our agreement. Zhang Yi nodded. Don't worry. I said I would help you defeat Team Morana, and I will definitely do it. I will never break my promise. King Arthur also nodded. Well, as for the time of the battle. Zhang Yi spoke first. Wait for my news. In order to avoid any complications, I will lead them into a trap. After saying that, Zhang Yi left the place. Zhang Yi returned to his city with the supplies given to him by the two families. No matter what, I have already gained something in advance. But after I leave here, they will definitely not give me the rest. Zhang Yi shrugged and smiled at Yang Xinxin and the others. Brian wrinkled his nose, moved closer to Zhang Yi, and said flatteringly, Hey, bro, look at these things. Shouldn't I have a share as well? Looking at Brian's big, sparkling eyes, this dog has really turned into a dog at this moment, and his thick tail is wagging like a small electric fan. Don't worry, Brian. I promised you that I would give you what you want later. But not now. Zhang Yi stared at Brian with burning eyes and a smile on his face. Brian was defeated. Okay, I believe you will keep your promise. But after seeing what you have done in the past few days, it is hard for me to be completely confident in you. Tell the truth. Zhang Yi patted his head. Although this battle is destined to be short, its glory will last long. Chaos, will not enjoy this glory alone. I will not let the people around me down. I have always been very trustworthy to my friends. Brian thought about how after the battle in Tianhai City, Zhang Yi did not hide anything but accepted fair distribution of resources. Although he was a little cruel and cunning towards his enemies, Zhang Yi never let his friends down. Brian smiled. Well, I believe you, my friend. Zhang Yi turned to look at Yang Xinxin. Those guys are very smart. They have already noticed something is wrong. Fortunately, your plan is very good. Even though they have doubts in their hearts, they don't have much time to think. They had no better option than to accept my proposal. Yang Xinxin nodded. If you want to get something, you must pay a price that is equal to or even greater than that. If they want to see the dawn of victory, they will inevitably take risks. Human nature is like this. The smarter people are, the easier it is for them to be manipulated because they play their cards based on the principle of maximizing their own interests and will not act impulsively. Zhang Yi raised his head. It was a desert night, and the night sky was extremely bright. Get ready for battle. Zhang Yi stared and said, Day 5. There are less than 3 days left until the final day, and many people have become irritable during the long wait. Morena informed Zhang Yi of the news. The agreed time was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They would set out together to attack the city of King Arthur's team. At that time, all members of Zhang Yi's team must go out as the vanguard to engage in a firefight with members of King Arthur's team. The Morena team is the second echelon and will join the battlefield later. Okay, no problem. Zhang Yi and the others are all ready to go. All the fighters were their members, and more than 1,000 Saiyan warriors affiliated with them. Zhang Yi stood in front of the city wall and waved his hand. All troops move out. The entire army was mobilized, and the entire city was left alone here, with no one responsible for guarding it. After Zhang Yi and the others left, Chang Wan, who was responsible for observing everything secretly, reported the situation here to others. They have already set off. All of them are out, leaving behind an empty city. Chang Wan herself was a little puzzled. Zhang Yi and the others were quite honest in their dealings and didn't even leave any backup for herself.